Not the school.
The agenda of our monthly town council meeting, regular session, Thursday, December 12th, 2024, 5:30 p.m. The Ormoc Municipal Building. I'll call for a mover for approval of the agenda. Councilor Kirkbride, seconder, Deputy Mayor Maloney. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Any disclosure of interest or conflict of interest? There's none. We move on to number 4, the public hearing of written objections of proposed bylaw 522-H, a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw. We'll have the Director of Planning and Compliance, Dallas Gillis, to read that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just have a really brief presentation to set up, and then we'll get right to the hearing. So this is in regard to proposed bylaw 52-H, a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw. Proposed development involves 2 3-story mixed-use buildings with commercial on the ground floor facing Rusty Goose Road. They're mostly compact 1-bedroom units. It requires a zone amendment and variances in height and setback and parking. The variances were approved at the December PAC meeting last night. In terms of the site plan, there will be 2 accesses: the main commercial access off of Rusty Goose Road, the residential access off of Seneca Street. The ground floor uses will be on facing Rusty Goose Road to keep the commercial feel of the street, with residential in behind and above. This is the proposed bylaw that's been placed online and has been available for people to come in and view. And this is a public hearing being held in accordance with the requirements of the Community Planning Act. Provide an opportunity for anyone to comment on or make any or object or make any comments on this in writing or in person. And again, in accordance with the act, this notice was placed on the website, and despite the postal strike, we had gotten notices to properties within 100 meters of this site. At this time, there's been no written objections or comments received. That being said, I will turn the floor over to the public. Let you ask 3 times for any comments and see what happens. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. I'll call for a mover for approval of that. Councillor Daw, seconder. Councillor Murdoch. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. I'll also call a mover for comments for or against. So I need a mover. Councillor Bob Victor, seconder. Councillor Whalen. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. All right. Thank you, Dallas. Thank you. We'll move down to the mayor's comments. Just that the year is ending pretty fast, and we had to make a lot of tough decisions and some good decisions, and we were awful busy, and hopefully we'll carry it on to the next year and keep busier. But I also just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, to all the staff and the council, and to us to be safe over the Christmas holidays, and to look out for the elder and the sick and the needy. All right. We'll move now to the adoption of the minutes of regular session, November 21st, 2024, 5:30 at the building. I call for a mover. Councillor Daw, seconder. Councillor Henry. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. There's no petitions, presentations, or delegations, so we move right down to councillor reports. We'll start with 8A, the Capital Region Service Commission. And I only have one thing to report, and we met on December the 11th at the Delta it was a luncheon meeting. It's just a Christmas luncheon meeting. And the only thing we discussed was the landfill and the new changes coming up in the new year. And especially with May starting out with the recycling and all that thing. So that's the only thing that we discussed that day. So now I'll move on to 8A1, the Community Development Committee with Councillor Daw.
Oh, sorry. There was no, the scheduled meeting was canceled.
We'll move to 8A2, the Economic Expansion Committee with Deputy Mayor Maloney.
Thank you, Your Worship. The scheduled meeting was also canceled.
Also canceled. All right. We'll move down to the Ormoc Health Care Committee, and that is also, and we met on November 18th here in council chambers, and there was the slightest amount of people that we've had, but it was only 7 or 8 of us there this year. I mean, we have up to 14 committee members, but it was a busy time then, so, but we discussed, some things that we did discuss were, we're gonna, now that there's a new election and new MLAs, we're gonna get all the local ones together and bring them in. We might bring them in one at a time each week or each month or all together to discuss the health situation. We're still working on incentive packages for recruiting doctors. And we're gonna look for more community involvement to help us, in the recruitment. So that's all we discussed that day. So we move now to 8C, the Planning and Advisory Committee with Deputy Mayor Winnie.
Thank you, Worship. As was, we just had a presentation there a few minutes ago from our director. The only item on the agenda was the proposal for the developer to install those 2 buildings on the corner of Seneca and Restigouche, which would be in the right beside ambulance New Brunswick. They will offer some very nice diversified living space and commercial rental space in the front. So it'll provide what I think is a very nice appeal on Restigouche Road, and will greatly help the revitalization of that area. And the other nice thing about the type of housing is that it was pitched as more affordable housing, not low income housing, affordable housing. They are smaller units, probably geared to someone who just wants to put the key in, live and leave and not have any maintenance to do. So I think it's really going to be a really good type of development. So that's really what we discussed last night. And we also will be recommending in January that the 2 people for whom their terms expired on the committee, that they be renewed.
Right on. Any questions or comments, council? All right, we'll move down to 8D, the Recreation and Tourism Committee. Council Kirkbride?
There was no meeting.
8E, the Age Friendly Community Advisory Committee. Council Murdoch?
No meeting.
8F, the Climate Change Zero Carbon Committee.
No meeting in December, sorry.
8G, the Library Committee. Councilor Daw?
Thank you, Worship, there was a meeting. In November the 26th, but there's still a meeting. Just a few items off of the agenda was talking of doing donations of library cookbooks. Apparently the library had done a cookbook a number of years ago, and they still have several of them, or quite a few. So they're going to donate them, some of them, to the SPC for their fundraising activities for their extension that they're building. We also talked about social media campaigns, getting new ideas and proposals to increase the library's social media following, and the program feedback that's offered at the libraries. They are well attended and show that patrons have a keen interest, and especially in having more trivia offerings. As well as that, they had a display for the month of November where works by a graphic designer, Jay Hayworth, a local person. There was continuous interest in her work and the different kinds of material that require graphic design. So just not t-shirts and things like that. And it's all posted up at the library for the public to see. And as well, Kirsten always gives her director's report for the month. And just to note, I always take a report, I won't read the whole thing, but with the change in the school timings, there's been a change in the program. So they're working on getting those up. So the numbers for September were down slightly. They had 2,444 for the month of September, October 2967. So that change did make a slight difference. They offered 14 programs in September, 36 in October, and 258 participants for the month of September compared to 516 for October. And they're still working with the outreach program, and they are still working with the the Meaningful Connections, how to reach for the proper name. They are very appreciative of the work that gets done by the Public Works Department. So Christian, just want to make sure that I expressed a thank you, because there was some little issues that everybody throughout the town and buildings are having. And, and they got taken care of quickly, and they do appreciate that. And as well, they are certainly eager and looking forward to having a new place so they can offer these programs, because they are quite cramped. Other than that, that's it. Their next meeting is January 28th.
Any questions or comments, council? I know I was here at the mayor's office and my wife called and said, you gotta go to the library, get me a cookbook, so I went over and got it. And it's, they were honored, they did on the cookbook, so that's be good. All right, we move on to eight H, the Oromocto Chamber of Commerce, Councilor Dunn.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had a little slight change to our meeting. The one that was scheduled for December 11th was turned into a holiday breakfast. And that took place, so there really wasn't a meeting, it was more a social time, which was nicely attended. But the breakfast was graciously hosted by Gary Wagner of McDonald's Restaurants. Very generous, that gentleman is, and his family. And on December 4th, there was a lovely turnout for the Chamber's Christmas social, which was hosted by Tanya Hanson-Rock of Robbins Home Hardware. And the next board meeting is scheduled for January the 8th.
Questions or comments, council? All right, we'll move now to 9, the consideration of bylaws, and we'll turn it over to CEO John Jackson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is second reading of bylaw 522H, a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw. Be it enacted, the mayor and councilors of the town of Oromocto, under authority vested in it by section 117 of the Community Planning Act, as follows: that bylaw 522, the town of Oromocto zoning bylaws amended by adding the following transfer to the transportation and light industrial zone in section 3.11. Zone, transportation and light industrial zone, TPIND, civic address. This amendment relates solely to the property having civic number 279 Restigouche Road, PID 6019187, as shown on attached Schedule I. Permitted uses be amended by adding the following to section 311 subsection 2. Residential dwelling units incorporated with any permitted other uses in the TPIND zone other than a gas bar, service station, or any manufacturing or automobile sales or service use. Read first time by title only, 21 November 2024. Read second time in its entirety, 12 December 2024.
Call for a mover, Deputy Mayor Mawhinney, seconder, Council Whalen. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. There's no unfinished business, so we'll move right down to 11, new business. We'll start with 11A, the building inspector compliance officer hiring with Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Richard. Be resolved that Chad Dow be hired as the building inspector / compliance officer for the planning and compliance office effective 6 January 2025. I so move.
Call for a seconder, Council Von Victor. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Move to 11B, the appointment of the building inspector compliance officer with Deputy Mayor Mawhinney.
Thank you, Worship. Be it resolved that Chad Dow be appointed as building inspector compliance officer as per section 73 of the Local Governments Act. I so move.
Call for a seconder, Councilor Henry. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Go to 11C, annual leave carryover with Councilor Whalen.
Thank you, Worship. Be resolved that council authorizes the chief administrative officer to approve the vacation carryover request as reviewed by council in committee on Tuesday, 10 December 2024. I so move.
Call for a seconder, Councilor Carr. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. 11D, the New Brunswick truck mobile radio purchase with Councilor Henry.
Thank you, Worship. Be resolved that town purchase 40 New Brunswick trunk mobile radio systems from Bell Mobility in the amount of $143,480.90, including HST.
Call for seconder, Councillor Murdoch. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. 11E, the Wood Street Sanitary Lift Station Analyst with, Councillor Kirkpatrick.
Thank you, Worship. Be resolved, the staff applies to the Regional Development Corporation for funding to offset the cost of conducting a lift station analysis at Wood Street by CBCL Limited in the amount of $31,800 plus HST. If RDC funding cannot be secured, the cost will be sourced from the project account number 1250-10. I so move.
Call for seconder, Deputy Mayor Mawini. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Move to 11F, insurance renewal with Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Worship. Be it resolved that the town of Ormuctu municipal insurance requirements be reviewed, renewed with Arthur J. Gallagher Canada Limited, effective 1st of January 2025, for a 1-year period at a premium cost of $246,303. Funding is available from within account 70050-10-1205. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Daw. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Move to 11G, the water and sewer rates with Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Your Worship. Resolved that as per bylaw 537, the town of Oromocto Council establish a water and sanitary sewage charges as per new Schedule A, effective the new billing cycle, as reviewed in council and committee on Tuesday, 10th of December, 2024. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Whalen. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Moving to 11H, year-end resolution. We'll start with 11H1, transfer from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Capital Fund with Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $373,239.64 be transferred from the General Capital Fund to the General Capital Reserve Fund. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Kirkbride. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Go to 11H2, transfer from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Capital Fund 2024 capital projects with Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $569,973 be transferred from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Capital Fund. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Daw. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Go to 11H3, the transfer from the General Operating Fund to the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Fund, water cost fire protection with Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $681,000 be transferred from the General Operating Fund to the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Fund, the water cost fire protection for fiscal year 2024. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Henry. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Go to 11H4, the transfer from the General Operating Fund to the General Operating Reserve Fund with Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $768,000 be transferred from the General Operating Fund to the General Operating Reserve Fund. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Carr. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. Move to 11H5, the transfer from the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Fund to the Water Sewer Utility Operating Reserve Fund. Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $589,000 be transferred from the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Fund to the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Reserve Fund. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Kirkbride. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. The last one, 11-H6, transfer from the Water Sewer Utility Operating Fund to the Water Sewer Utility Capital Reserve Fund, water tower renewal, to Councillor Von Richter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Be it resolved that $25,000 be transferred from the Water and Sewer Utility Operating Fund to the Water and Sewer Utility Capital Reserve Fund. I so move.
Call for seconder, Councillor Murdoch. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried. I'll call for the adjournment. Deputy Mayor Maloney, seconder, Councillor Whalen. Questions? All in favor? Contrary? Motion carried.
Very good.